Well, I think if you look at the history of any continent, the point at which the cities grew is usually the takeoff of very significant economic development. I come from Britain. I come from a city called Birmingham. It was the home of the Industrial Revolution. Poor people came from the countryside. They were thrown off the land when they put sheep there. But factories opened up, jobs opened up. There was squalor and poverty and child labour and disease. But then the people got organised, demanded the vote, developed trade unions, and people's life got better. So I think urbanisation can be handled badly or well, but it's a turning point in history, and it offers a real opportunity for economic takeoff. I think the big difference between Africa's urbanisation and, say, Europe is that you haven't got the Industrial Revolution and the factories generating lots of jobs. So you've got still the cities growing, small towns, big cities, people moving, building their own houses, having little enterprises, a big informal sector, very busy, creative people, but not the great mass job energy that we saw in Europe. And I think that's one of the challenges for Africa. I mean, you've got lots of educated young people, lots of people with energy to do more, but there aren't the jobs there. And I think that's a potential crisis for the future, or an opportunity if urbanisation is well managed in Africa to use all that youthful, vigorous population to really grow the economy. So in Africa we've got a very high proportion of slums. 60-odd% of the urban population right across the continent are in informal shacks, slums. That's a challenge, but the other way around, you could think, well, if we got some serious development, there'd be thousands of, hundred thousands of jobs building new houses, putting in the electricity and the sanitation that could lead to an economic boom as well as an improvement in people's lives. The advantage for Africa in coming later is that given climate change and all those challenges, it could leap over the old technologies and go for renewable energy, go for modern transport systems so you don't have great sprawling cities with everyone dependent on cars and choked up traffic. Africa could go for very modern, well-designed cities, renewable energy, good public transport, safe bicycle use. You know, it could be like Copenhagen plus in terms of the quality of its cities. So I think the challenges and opportunities for Africa at this point, and it's really quite exciting if people will get moving and get it right. I think one of the possible opportunities is that if you look at the base for the economic takeoff in China, it was investment from overseas in manufacturing, assembly and so on, with lots and lots, very job intensive. Now China's changing, wage levels have gone up, they're trying to rebalance the economy and go more up technology and have more consumption. So where are those jobs going? Some of them are moving to countries like Vietnam and Indonesia and so on, but I think Africa could be the next continent to take on that kind of light manufacturing, and with it lots of jobs, that was the origin of the Chinese takeoff. So that's not easy, but I think it's a possibility that really needs working on. And there's some signs, countries like Ethiopia are going down that road, making lots of shoes and exporting them around the world and generating lots of jobs. So I think that's a real opportunity for Africa if it can be grasped. Well, I think that the challenge of investment in infrastructure that's needed, roads, housing, sanitation, electricity, good healthcare basic systems, good education systems right from primary through to higher education, the investment needs are enormous. And so just the public sector can't do it. just people with their own private savings can't do it. You need partnerships. You need to bring together people's own savings, what local government can do, central government needs to enable, international development banks need to come in. You need real partnerships of money and energy to get the big boost in investment in infrastructure that could get the uplift that would give people a better life and improve economic performance enormously. Well, it seems to me really we're at a point where there's a fantastic opportunity for Africa to handle urbanisation well, and a big risk if it handles it badly. And the whole point of the think tank for African cities is to try to gather the best knowledge there is from all the world's examples, like South America actually handled badly and now has made big advances, you know, Brazil and so on with its favelas. So to bring together the knowledge of African countries and cities that have done well, other countries that have made mistakes, and mobilise some energy and knowledge that gets Africa moving down the good path. That's the job of the initiative. I think people's understanding of this challenge is really quite limited. A lot of people think, oh, we don't like these slum dwellers, make them go back, go away. They're not going away, they never went away anywhere, you know, throughout history. But if you neglect them, they have a miserable, you know, they don't have proper healthcare, the children don't have good education, you don't get good transport systems or good energy systems, and you don't use their energy to develop the economy. So the lessons need to be learned, it needs to be a modern, up-to-date debate. People need to see urbanisation as an opportunity and not just as a problem. And that new message and that optimism that gets people's energy going and people's determination to make reforms, that needs to spread across the continent, and that's part of the job of the Centre for Cities. Well, I think the continent is different. It's a big continent with lots of different countries at different stages of development, but it needs to move forward together. The opportunities are, if the continent moves forward, it's got these horrible colonial boundaries that have cut up countries and smaller than they should be. You need more regional integration so that bigger markets, more inward investment, more opportunities to sell things that are produced in the continent. So you need countries learning from each other, regions learning from each other, and the continent moving forward as a whole in improved transport systems, better energy systems. The threat of climate change is really serious all over the world, and as all the experts say, poorer countries will suffer most. So facing up to that and jumping over the old technologies, going for renewable energy, modern transport systems and so on, you can't do that town by town. I mean, it has to be worked town by town, but it has to be an integrated part of developments across the continent. Well, there's a great organisation across this continent called Slum Dwellers International. It's also organised in India. And these are people living in informal settlements, getting together, getting organised, saving, talking with their local authorities, trying to get proper allocation of land so they can build decent housing and so on. And that's a very strong, organised movement of people outside any of the formal structures, with lots of knowledge of things that have worked and things that need doing, a capacity to cooperate with government if government wants to do good things. So I think that's a real asset. And I sometimes think, if you think of Europe's history and how things advanced because the labour movement got organised, because we had the factories, I think the organisations of slum dwellers might be the labour movement of this era, or partially right across Africa. So that's a very powerful set of people and organisations that really can help to cooperate with government institutions to get some significant progress. Well, the AfriCities meeting in Johannesburg is a very timely meeting. We're right in the face of this challenge of intensifying urbanisation right across Africa. And let me repeat, it's not just the big megacities, it's small towns, it's right across the size range. And we need a step change in seriousness about how to manage the cities, how government, private sector and people can cooperate to improve the housing, improve the infrastructure, have modern cities with modern energy systems and better transport. And I think AfriCities in Johannesburg is just at the right time this year to give a lead and say, come on, step change, we're really going to move things forward. So it's a very important meeting.